You're listening to 15 Minutes of Flame with Robert Phoenix.
Well, good morning. How is everybody? This is Robert Phoenix broadcasting to you live from Fredericksburg, Texas, also known as Flyover. Well, today is a momentous day, isn't it? For a lot of reasons, both terrestrial, non-terrestrial, and perhaps they're all connected into one giant macro-orgasmic stew of symbolic interpretation, which we'll do our best to get into today and try to break down what's happening, because there's a lot going on. Well, first of all, with some real care and concern for our people back in Hawaii, just wanted to give everybody an update here on what's the latest. This is from a couple hours ago, updated at 10:18 this morning, and this is from the Express. And Aurora Borsati is the author here. Hawaii volcano eruption, webcam live, watch catastrophic lava spill out of Kilauea. Hawaii volcano Kilauea has been erupting uninterruptedly for over a week, forcing thousands of residents to flee their homes to survive the destructive lava flows. Watch as a live webcam captures scorching embers sputtering out of a new fissure. So there's a new fissure in Kilauea. The eruption of the Kilauea volcano caused chaos in the area as a flaming lava flow destroyed homes and buildings. So this is basically a visual if you wanted to watch. This is over on www.express.co.uk. Just look up lava video. Maybe I'll see if I can drop this into the chat room. If you want to stay on top of it, if you know people over in Hawaii. Who do we have in the chat room right now? There's Judy. Hi, Judy. How are you? Let me just drop this in there, see if that'll work. And now, for some reason, my text links don't freaking work in here. I don't know why. So this is some more info here. The catastrophic volcano event where activity has forced U.S. President Donald Trump to declare a major disaster in Hawaii, a move which allows federal assistance to supplement local recovery efforts. Hawaii's Civil Defense Agency said in its latest update, continued earthquake activity and additional outbreaks in the area are likely. The Hawaiian Volcano Observatory has cautioned about the possibility of an explosive eruption at Halama Uma'au crater to an ongoing withdrawal of lava from the Kilauea Summit Lake. This could generate dangerous debris very near the crater and ashfall up to 10 miles downwind. Due to this volcanic activity, residents of Lower Puna were told by the Civil Defense that there may be little to no advance notice to evacuate, so take time to prepare. Hawaii Civil Defense also told residents to be on alert for gas emissions and lava splatter. Holiday rentals in the area are set to cease operations in the immediate future to relieve the demand for water and reduce the area population to allow emergency operations to be focused only on residents. The eruption has destroyed 37 buildings, including tens of houses, and lava has covered the equivalent of more than 75 football pitches. Scientists are tracking earthquakes, lava, and the composition of gas coming out of the cracks in the ground to predict the volcano's next move, but experts are unable to tell when the violent eruption will come to an end. So apparently, Hawaiians are also running around scrambling and looking for gas masks because of the high degree methane, which is extremely toxic and even poisonous. Oh boy. So, while we have a natural eruption taking place, we have an unnatural eruption taking place all the way across the planet in Israel, where they have killed 25 Palestinians and wounding 35 others in Gaza. As today, the United States opens its embassy in Jerusalem. Now, this also coincides with the anniversary of the naming of the nation state of Israel, which happened way back in 1948. There's no mistake here. There's no coincidences. None whatsoever. So in 2008, what was that? That was 40 years. And 2018, what do we have there? Is that, let's see, 1998 would be, what, 50 years? So my math sucks today. Totally sucks. Sorry about that. Anyway, today is Israel's birthday party. So you get up in the morning, the synapses they're just not all there. They're just not all there. And there's no coincidence, though, is there? There's none whatsoever that today is the day that the embassy is going to be honored. 70 years. Thank you. 70 years. This is the 70th anniversary of the nation state of Israel. And of course, we've had, let's get into this. I'll just read you the headlines here. I just read you the headline. We'll get into the details now. Israel snipers. Snipers! We're not talking face to face, on the ground, look them in the eyes, people that are going to be shooting other people. No, we're talking snipers. Israel snipers. What is up with the news today? What is up with like the content and the copy? Israel snipers kills 25. The Express is supposed to be a decent newspaper from England. They can't even write the frickin' language. Interpret the language appropriately. Palestinians, 900 injured as 35,000 protest at Jerusalem embassy. Israeli forces opened on Palestinian protesters, killing 25 and leaving 900 injured as demonstrators streamed the Gaza border on the day the United States prepared to open its embassy in Jerusalem. Protests intensified on the 70th anniversary of Israel's founding as loudspeakers on Gaza mosques urged Palestinians to join a great march of return. Black smoke from tires burned by demonstrators rose into the air at the border. More than 35,000 gathered in the area in protest to the move. Today is the big day when we will cross the fence and tell Israel and the world we will not accept being occupied forever, said Gaza science teacher Ali, who declined to give his last name. Many may get martyred today, but so many, but the world will hear our message. Occupation must end. Israeli troops killed 2 men aged 21 and 29 on Monday. Health officials are bringing the Palestinian death toll to 47 since the protests began on March 30th. No Israeli casualties have been reported. The killings have drawn international criticism, but the United States, which has angered the Palestinians and Arab powers. What do you mean by Arab powers? Prince Salman doesn't give a shit about the embassy being relocated to Jerusalem. He doesn't care at all. What Arab powers? There's only one Arab power that the United States has angered, and they're not even a power, and it's the Palestinian people. Everybody else in the Middle East is compliant. By relocating his embassy to Jerusalem from Tel Aviv has echoed in accusing Gaza's ruling Hamas movement of instigating violence. Hamas has been penetrated and infiltrated by the Israelis a long time ago. Even the Palestinian people do not trust Hamas. Later in the day, Israeli leaders and a U.S. delegation, including Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin and President Donald Trump's daughter and son-in-law, Ivanka Trump and Jared Kushner, were due to attend the opening of the embassy. Man, they fast-tracked that thing, didn't they? He said, yes, it's going to happen, and boom, it's happening. What a moving day for the people of Israel, the state of Israel. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu wrote on Twitter. Jason Greenblatt, President Trump's Middle East peace envoy, said on Twitter that taking the long overdue step of moving our embassy is not a departure from our strong commitment to facilitate a lasting peace deal. Rather, it is a necessary condition for it. Meaning, if we don't get this thing, we're not talking peace at all. Now we got it. Let's see what other list of demands we have. Oh, and there's lovely Ivanka. I saw a tweet from Ivanka yesterday basically declaring that she's a Zionist in the tweet. Does that surprise you at all? How do you feel about these people that are embedded in our government? They're embedded in our government. How do you feel about that? The president's daughter is a raging Zionist, and so is his son-in-law. And just about everybody else he's put in his cabinet, the Zionist, neocon, these are the people that are running our government. How do you feel about that? Dual citizens, how do you feel about that? Again, it doesn't matter what the dual citizens are. I'm telling you, what if they were dual citizens from El Salvador? What if they were dual citizens from Russia? How would you feel about that? Or China? Well, it's dual citizens. The Palestinians, let's see, here we go. The Palestinian Prime Minister Rami Hamdallah said Trump's recognition of Jerusalem as Israel's capital in December and relocation of the embassy were blatant violations of international law. Well, I mean, international law doesn't mean shit. International law, national law, domestic law doesn't mean shit. The only law that means something is a law that you might break. And all of a sudden the laws become really important, deeply enforceable, and ultimately, binding for however long it's been established, right? I mean, forget it. There is nothing that we've entered into a period of bureaucratic and diplomatic lawlessness. And that's the way it is. That's the way it is. And I don't care who spins what or how they spin it, whether it's some freaky deaky nursery rhyme code over on 4chan, Bottom line is we're living in a time of utter lawlessness at a higher level. These people can get away with anything. Oh, but don't worry, there's now 50,000 indictments. And there's the occasional, I've seen them. I've seen the indictments. You can look them up. They're right here. Well, so what? I posted something on Facebook last night. And, I don't want to polarize people any more than they're already polarized. But I've just become, again, I've never been a big QAnon person. I thought it was interesting in the beginning. It's like, okay, well, let's see where this is going. Let's see where it's going. Maybe it's legit. I don't know. And then as I began to spend more and more time with it, it was like, man, this is really disempowering. It's so disempowering. It just keeps putting everything out there. Well, it's this date. Well, we didn't meet this date. Well, we got another date. Oh, we didn't meet that date. We got another date. Oh, there's another date coming. Oh, draining the swamp was harder than we thought. Really? Where have we heard this shit before? We've heard it with the Leo Wanta stuff. Nasara. We've heard it with David Wilcock. David always has a date. Oh, there's this date, and there's this date, now this date, and nothing ever happens. David Wilcock's credibility is probably at an all-time low, but he still manages to get people's attention and have 135-page drops on his website and keep people involved and glued to whatever it is he's saying or doing, much of which has been, scribed from an echo chamber somewhere with somebody else's material. Everybody's kind of digging into everybody else's material now. And this is what's happening. Oy vey. The Palestinians who want their own future state with its capital, East Jerusalem, have been outraged by Trump's shift from previous administration's preference for keeping the U.S. Embassy in Tel Aviv pending progress in peace efforts. Trump caved. I'm sorry. Trump is not playing 5D chess. The only thing Trump has in favor of him is his chart with that Sun-Uranus conjunction, which is Captain Chaos. Because now he's jacking Iran around. And because he's jacking Iran around, the EU now has some issues. Now, of course, the 5D chess people will say, oh, this is brilliant. This is so brilliant. By doing this, Trump is actually going after the EU, and he's going to break down the EU. And then what we're going to have is we're going to have a surge of nationalism back into the various countries of Europe, and they'll be plotting it, right? So you could look at it that way. If I wanted to spin it that way, I certainly could. We'll see. I don't know. I think that's the one thing that Trump has in his favor, is that he is Captain Chaos. And what they do with the chaos, well, that's a whole other piece. Let's see. Those talks have been frozen since 2014. Other major powers worry that the U.S. could move could also inflame Palestinian unrest in the occupied West Bank, which Israel captured along with East Jerusalem in a 1967 war that we helped them out with. So that's going on. Let's see what else we have here. Special relationship soured. Now Britain faces economic sanctions from Trump over Iran. This is what I'm talking about. Let's see. Royal Wedding 2018. Bishop brands Trump policy a heresy. Will march against the president. She's paranoid. Hillary Clinton warns Australia of China and Russia interference. So she's over in Australia now. And she's barking that the Russians and the Chinese are going to interfere with their election. France and Germany split over Eurozone as divisions over Trump sanctions escalate. So you see people in QAnon, and it's going to come out. See, really, the target really isn't Iran, although we're going to get Iran and we're going to flip Iran. But really, the target is Europe, and we're going to detonate the EU. Could be. I just think he's got that Sun-Uranus conjunction in Gemini, and he is absolutely chaotic, and sometimes the chaos works in his favor. Some more Earth-oriented information here. In India, at least 70 people were killed after a wave of sandstorms and thunderstorms. And by the way, if you didn't have enough on your plate, there's supposed to be an asteroid flying between the Earth and the Moon tonight. This is coming from NASA. Let me read this to you. This will put a little dose of paranoid in your morning coffee. Again, this is from the Express. It says asteroid 2010 WC9 will come dangerously close to the planet tonight when the giant space rock passes between the Moon and Earth. NASA has gravely warned. Nearly 8 years after astronomers lost track of the estimated 120-mile-long space rock, asteroid WC9 is ready to come back in spectacular fashion. The giant asteroid around the size of the Statue of Liberty, 120 meters, not 120 miles, 120 meters. I forget. This is a European publication. Will track a peculiar path. A peculiar path. Instead of going around the moon, it's going to hang a little bit of a left and going to just squeeze between the moon and the Earth. At its closest, the asteroid will come close to Earth within 0.53 lunar distances, around 203,000 kilometers. The approach is expected to happen around 1 a.m. British Standard Time in the early morning hours of Tuesday, May 15th. Asteroid 2010, WC9, was first observed on November 30th, 2010, by the U.S.-based Catalina Sky Survey in Arizona, but the asteroid dashed out of sight and into the darkness of space by December, leaving scientists uncertain where it might be headed next. Astronomers were unable to track WC9's path until now. Daniel Bamberger at London's Northolt Branch Observatory said, "We imaged this object twice, first on May 9, when it was still known by its temporary designation ZJ99C60. Then again on May 10th, after it was identified as asteroid 2010 WC9, which had been a lost asteroid for 8 years. So this asteroid has been missing for 8 years. And now it's showing up on the new moon Uranus conjunction. It is still a faint object of the 18th magnitude, but it is brightening very rapidly. 2010 WC9 will be brighter than the 11th magnitude at closest approach, making it visible in a small telescope. Calculations by NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory suggest this will be the closest asteroid. WC9 will come to Earth in the next 300 years. Unfortunately, the asteroid will not light up brightly enough to be visible to the naked eye, but small telescopes could aid you in the endeavor. However, if you are keen on seeing the asteroid zoom by, then you are in luck, because the event will be streamed online by multiple sources. You can check out robotic telescope service SLEW, which will live stream the asteroid on Facebook Live and its website tonight. Northolt Branch Observatories will also host a Facebook Live event later this evening. It's a handsome-looking asteroid, I have to say. Like when I think of an asteroid, I think of it looking like this. Pockmarked, slightly dark, crater-like in certain areas, weathered by space debris, somewhat ominous. It's a good-looking asteroid. The broadcast will be less than 25 minutes in duration, as the asteroid will cross our field of view within that period of time. The asteroid will be moving quite rapidly, 30 arc seconds per minute. Our display will update every 5 seconds. We're, of course, collecting astrometric data while this is happening, but the motion of the asteroid will appear every 5 seconds. So there you go. We got a little asteroid action happening tonight. There's a lot of activity out there. Let's see what we have with Judy. What did it say? English may not be the primary language of those writing the articles. I don't think it is, Judy. And Lynn says, maybe that space rock will make Hawaii blow. Can't imagine staying there with a gas mask. Who knows? Maybe we're all going to have to start finding gas masks at some certain point in time. Although I am trying to keep today's show up and on the positive tip. Because it is a Monday, it is a new moon, and we are in the phase of conjunction. There's a lot more going on astrologically, especially with Mars. Some big Mars action. We talked about that on last night's show, if you were there. And we got into Mars and the Mars relationship to the economy and money and all that stuff. And maybe the asteroid will connect with Hawaii. I don't know. We'll see. We'll find out. We're going to find out. We are going to find out just how smart, lucid, clear, and correct the prophets of our time and others shall be. Because it really feels like these times are upon us. Like this event in Jerusalem is a big deal. It's a really, really big deal from the standpoint of prophecy. From an energetic standpoint, it's also a really big deal. Most of us who've been following tracking this stuff on an esoteric level for a while know that that area is a portal. It's an immense portal. And it just sucks up those energies that are being brewed constantly. Hatred, enmity, frustration, resentment, rage. It just gets hoovered right up in that area. So these are very, very interesting times indeed. God. You know, every time a country decides that they want to do something kind of independently, like, you know, we don't want this fascist groove thing. Invisible forces shape, contort, massage, cajole, and ultimately, guess what? Force them to change their original decision. This is from BioEdge, bioethics news from around the world. Iceland dumps proposed ban on male circumcision. After a 3-month national debate and lobbying from all over the world. Well, why the hell? I mean, this is what I don't get. If a country wants to do something on their own, you know, leave them the fuck alone. I'm sorry. After a 3-month national debate and lobbying from all over the world, the parliamentary committee in Iceland has shelved a proposed ban on male circumcision. The penalty for performing or organizing a circumcision would have been a sentence of up to 6 years in prison. The ban was proposed in February by Siljadag Gunnarsdóttir. You'd have to Siljadag Gunnarsdóttir of the Progressive Party in Iceland's parliament. It's a woman. She declared her bill as an attempt to protect the interest of the child. She should just drop that first name and have Dag Gunnarsdóttir. And maybe drop the Doter, the Dog Gunnar. Dog, yo, what up, dog? Sorry. She described her bill as an attempt to protect the interest of the child. Circumcisions of females had already been banned. She reasoned, why not males? Every individual, it doesn't matter what sex or how old, should be able to give informed consent for a procedure that is unnecessary, irreversible, and can be harmful. She declared his body, his choice. Oh, well, what a unique concept. His body, his choice. Incredibly, Ms. Gunnarsdóttir failed to consult Iceland's tiny Jewish and Muslim communities and did not anticipate the uproar that ensued. I didn't think it was necessary to consult, she told The Independent. I don't see it as a religious matter. Jews are welcome in Iceland. This is about child protection and children's rights. That comes first, and before the religious rights of the adults. Oh, no, 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 no. It does not come first. Icelanders were divided. Polling showed that 50% favored the bill and 37% opposed it, with the remainder undecided. Local religious leaders campaigned against it. Some inconsistencies emerged. Intersex children are routinely operated on, but without their consent. How many intersex children are there? Let's be real about it. Maybe the intersex children should be allowed to grow up to be intersex and let them make the choice. I don't know. The bill cited the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child, but Iceland has sometimes deported children born in Iceland without respecting their rights. Ooh, bad. Iceland bad. The bill appears to have sunk because lobbyists successfully stoked fears of religious discrimination. You know what that means? Lawsuits. Lawsuits. You better get ready because we're going to sue your ass. And guess what? We're going to win. And you're going to have to pay us money. Big money. The impact of this would have been felt far beyond Iceland's borders. said a letter from the U.S. House of Representatives Committee on Foreign Affairs. This move would make Iceland the first and only European nation to outlaw circumcision. While Jewish and Muslim populations in Iceland may be small, your country's ban would be exploited by those who stoke xenophobia and anti-Semitism in countries with more diverse populations. Oh, please, give me a fucking break. Just because you don't want your kids circumcised in some country, small, Iceland says we don't want it, all of a sudden white nationalists in some other part of the world are going to use that as a mortar and a cannon? Give me a break. It's ridiculous. However, two bioethicists writing in the Oxford Journal blog, Practical Ethics, Lauren Notani and Brian D. Earp, suggested that religious reasons for male circumcision are probably not justifiable. Parental religious rights are not unlimited. They argue that non-therapeutic genital cutting deprives the child and the adult they will become of the opportunity to remain genitally unmodified or intact. Plausibly, the person whose private parts will be permanently affected by the cutting should get a chance to weigh in on whether that is what they desire in light of the longer-term preferences and values. However, the less clear it is that a bodily encroachment is in fact in the child's best interest. Considering a child's strong interest in being able to autonomously make important, self-affecting decisions in the future, the more likely it is that the child's bodily integrity rights are being impermissibly violated. All right, non-therapeutic genital cutting deprives the child, and so they're on the side of, hey, back off. Let's keep that little patch of skin. What do the comments say? It is saddening. This is Kanye Sun Tzu. It is saddening to see yet another country buckle to implement laws against male genital mutilation under fear of reprisal from radical fundamentalist religious extremism. It's called a lawsuit. Religious zealots treating boys as property. Nothing new there. Just ask the pedophile priest. What is disgusting is that governments have no moral or ethical problem with male genital mutilation when everybody is so certain that female genital mutilation is a hideous crime. It really says something about the societal view of male versus females. One worthy of protection under law, the other who cares. I don't see the issue. Iceland isn't a real country anyway. My city has more people than that fake Viking jail. Pathetic. And Kanye Sun Tzu says, yes, you are. This person says, I see the sadistic pedophiles one again. And let's see, Triage says the bill appears to have sunk because lobbyists successfully stoked fears of religious discrimination. And they come in with, not entirely. See, the ADL also threatened to launch a smear campaign to damage Iceland's tourist industry by linking Iceland's ban to extremists and make people think Iceland is a Nazi country. Religious groups throughout Europe, Jewish, Muslim, and Christian, also claimed this would be a violation of religious freedom, and were successful on this front. And Ty Erickson, an American OGBYN who's performed hundreds of infant circumcisions, went to Iceland to defend the practice because the ban threatens the livelihood and integrity of people like him who thrive owing to America's unfathomably corrupt medical industry. And through all this, any real evidence of the fact cutting off part of a male's genitals with no immediate medical need is harmful was overlooked, for which there is voluminous evidence, scientific and visual, absolutely. Because this is the world we live in. Such a blindingly barbaric, harmful practice is able to survive like this, ultimately because of its enshrinement as a religious tradition and the power groups who defend it on that ground hold, and the deference governments and international organizations give towards them. Yeah, exactly. It just goes to show you that countries are not sovereign. They're just not. They're not sovereign. Either they're owned by the Crown of London, or they're owned by the court of public opinion and pressure from special interest groups. Oh God! You know, if you want to look into circumcision, which clearly, when I had a child, I did. Okay, and I looked at it intensely. And one of the things that a circumcision does is it speeds up this process of hijacking the testosterone and fast tracking the physical development of the child, of the male. This is what happens, and not in a good way. Not in a good way at all. Because there's a whole series of processes that take place when a male child is uncircumcised. There's a whole different level of brain development and endocrine disbursement that takes place inside the child. Boy. Essentially, what happens is that when you have that moment of circumcision, you're fast-tracking your male child towards some kind of mutation and biological alteration from the jump. And this has been going on for a very, very long time. Maybe I'll do a show tomorrow on circumcision. I bet you that'll get me a lot of listens. What do you think? What else is happening out there today? Anything else interesting? Let's see. Italy gets its first populist president. Let's see how quickly they start making strong ties to Tel Aviv. What else do we have here? Did you guys see that story that I put up on Facebook last night about up in Canada, these Canadians who I guess have some kind of a wildlife preserve, or they were watching over this bear and they took this bear out for ice cream at Dairy Queen. I thought that was hilarious. Totally hilarious. Listen, this is going to be a very intense and very interesting week. And I'm going to try to get back on the website today and do some writing and give you my thoughts about what's happening astrologically, because there's a lot going on. There's a hell of a lot going on out there. And see if I can capture some of these thoughts and words. Challenge for me is I'm busy. I do 2 to 3 readings a day. I just don't have a lot of time to write. I wish I had more. So hopefully I'll get onto the website and start penning some stuff, because today's a good day to actually do it. With the new moon, with Uranus moving into Taurus. And if you missed last night's show, the live stream, that'll be up on my website and it'll be up on Facebook today. Please check it out. It was a really good show. Lots of great interaction from the chat room. I love the chat room on the Sunday night show. Got a nice little community happening in there. All right, why don't we get on out of here? So this is it. This is a new day. This is a new dawn. Is it the beginning of the age of Aquarius, with Uranus conjuncting the new moon? Mars coming into Aquarius, squaring Uranus. Are we going to be battling for each other's version of what the age of Aquarius will look like? Will it be a new age of light, or will it be a new dark age? Or will it really be determined by our own thoughts and perceptions, driven by our emotions and feelings, which shape the context of our everyday lives? We're going to find out. This is Robert Phoenix reporting to you live from Fredericksburg, Texas. You know the drill. Use your head to discern what's real, your heart to stay open to what's possible. Lynn, I will post that video today on my website. She's asking about the Houston video. All right, let's come back. Let's hang out here tomorrow, 24 hours from today. I'm Robert Phoenix, and hold on a second. I'm Robert Phoenix, and you are you.
You're listening to 15 Minutes of Flame with Robert Phoenix.